Welcome to Lights, Camera, Whatever. We're going to jump into a movie today, a Taiwanese movie. That's right. We're doing the psychology of life and love through Taiwanese film and drama. That is right. The name of this movie is called Man in Love. So if you go to Netflix right now, type it in, you'll see Man in Love. Remember, they will all have English subtitles. I will not hurt you. So let's jump into the description. Now, the description says, okay, guys, this is a little bit kind of sensitive, but, interesting movie. And I enjoyed it myself. It's not, these movies are not the most amazing movies in the world. There's no movie that's just perfect. Even American movies are not just perfect, right? But they do have certain points that do have connections to our life. So that's what we're going to do. Now, the description says, when he meets a debt-ridden woman who's caring for her ailing father, a debt collector with a heart of gold sets out to win her love. That is the description you will see exactly on Netflix. Now, you know what we do. We dive into certain points. My first question, first on the list, on the batting rotation, if you're a baseball fan, can you fix what is broken? That's right. Can you fix what is broken? This is an interesting question, right? Because a lot of times we want to, we get into these relationships, right? We meet the right person, and then they're kind of like a unbroken vase in the beginning. But then as you get closer to them, you start to see the cracks. You start to see in between. You start to read between the lines of something that you didn't see when you were in this lust of love in the beginning, in the initial stages of the relationship, right? So when I say, can you fix what is broken, right? Are they broken, or are they not up to the perfect standard that you want them to be? So when you say, can you fix what is broken, this is something, sometimes in the States, I always hear this phrase, right? It say, don't fix what's broken, right? But sometimes you see something inside someone that is an attribute, right? That is a characteristic that could gradually over time be improved, be enhanced. But that comes down to the next question. Is it your responsibility as a lover, as a partner, to fix that? And do you have the time and energy to fix that? That is a very important question. So can you fix what is broken? There are a lot of, actually everybody's broken, right? No one is perfect. No one has the cleanest background, right? No one has the perfect academic credibility and credentials. No one, right? Even if they do, trust me, there is something inside the vase of them that has a crack, and if pressured, if pushed, it will break. So can you fix what is broken? Now, I'm doing my best to add these questions that does not spoil the movie. That is exactly what I don't want to spoil it. I'm doing my absolute best. But can you fix what is broken? So in the movie, I was about to jump into it. I have to always stop myself. Every time I say something like in the movie, I have to have a red light, right? It's always a red light in my mind. But imagine dating someone and you're really, really into them. You really, really like them, who they are. You're not in love yet. You're not in love. You're there. You're on the way. The trajectory is headed that way. But you're in a relationship with them, and it's on the way to that LOVE, that 4-letter monster that could be beautiful. Beautiful monster. Right? But then as you go along, you feel like this person, when we get to certain conversations, he kind of, runs away a bit, right? He kind of evades the question. Or when you're with the girl and you feel like, oh, when it gets to certain type of topics, she just doesn't have anything to add, right? There's nothing to join into the conversation, right? But that doesn't mean they're bad people. It's just everybody has something that they're not good in. Now, do you have the patience to kind of close your eyes closed wide last time, right? And to look at this situation and say, okay, they are not perfect individuals, but it's okay. We can work with that. But over time, we, as humans, we start to get picky, right? We say, hey, wow, you always kind of leave something here on the table. You're kind of lazy when it comes to here, or I keep bringing up this topic with you, but you keep running away from it, right? And then we start to, we always the expectations of the killers, right? We have these expectations of what we want in this person, And when they don't meet the certain standard or, in a certain time frame that we feel comfortable with, we start to get uncomfortable. It always happens, right? And then we start to, close our eyes a bit, but then we're hurting ourselves because we want them to be a certain way, right? And that's where we get it wrong, right? But if they are who they are, think about this, guys. Okay, at RBZ English, my company, I teach a lot of clients, and I have to deal with their individual personalities. And I do have to understand one thing. They have been like this for 30, 40 years. Now, I'm coming into their life. I'm their business English consultant. I'm helping them. But I do have to understand, and I do have to come to terms with the reality. I can't change them overnight, and I can't change them over 1 year, maybe 5 years, because they've been like this for 30, 40 years. In that same situation, I'm not into relationships with them. I'm in a professional relationship with them. But for the people getting into a love relationship with people, then it gradually, as time goes on, does become your responsibility to say, okay, can they be fixed? Do they need to be fixed? Or do I love them for who they are? So these are some key questions. This is why I had to jump right into it, right into the ocean and say, can you fix what is broken? And actually, are they broken in the first place? And the second question after that is, who classifies the meaning of what is broken and what is not? Right? So that's a really, really good question. Now, the second one is, this is all the time. This is crazy. It says, okay, look. Is it your right to be a matchmaker for your child? For me, no. Guys, remember, I'm speaking from my perspective. You can disagree, you can agree. I'm totally open to whatever comment you have. But remember, this is an open conversation here. We don't want to get into that. This is just my personal perspective. There is no right or wrong. But me personally, Ray, right? No. My sons have their own interest. They have their own interest. Now, a match, I don't want to bring up some girl and say, hey, this is the perfect, future wife for you. There is no perfect anything. This is the perfect girlfriend for you. Like, wow, she's really, really smart. She went to Columbia, or I'm from Atlanta. Like, she went to Georgia Tech, right? She went to this amazing school. You should talk to her. Guys, it's the same concept when you tell your child to eat broccoli, but the fried chicken is on the other side of the table, right? You're saying like, oh, eat your peas, but the macaroni and cheese is like gleaming over there and cheese and shining, right? It's the same thing. Kids want what they want when they're kids, even into the age of adulthood. They know what they want. So once you start coming up with these like suggestions, like, hey, like talk to this girl, or because there's a scene in a movie where like the mom is like, hey, here's a picture of my son. Like he's going on the verge of being successful, and you're kind of like sitting here on this regular job. Like maybe you can take and once you start giving suggestions, like people, organically, genuinely, authentically, right? How many more words can I say, right? They will turn away because you are pushing them in a direction. Yes, sometimes you can, give an insinuation, but guys, we have to learn how to give insinuations in a healthy way. We can't just be insinuating, right? First of all, I don't like insinuations. Say what you got to say. Like, oh, maybe, possibly, oh, you could think about, no, tell me what you think is the problem, and then we can go to that and we can discuss it. And I might listen to you because, right, I don't have to listen to anything. I could just listen and just listen, but I don't have to. You got to respect people's, space. That's a very important word. But you being a matchmaker for your kids, no. I don't even think you have the right. I mean, if they're dating someone who's like on drugs, like, this, you can tell them to not be with someone. That's different. You can suggest to say, hey, like this girl or this guy is, off the chain, right? They are absolutely wild. But maybe your child likes that. Maybe your child has lived such a traditional life. You have barricaded him inside your home, inside the educational systemic mindset of just, taking tests and no fun. Don't go outside and play. When they see someone wild and out of control and unstable, remember what I said in the last episode, we like weird, right? But that doesn't mean you have to find the one for them. You can suggest them not to be with certain people, but that doesn't mean you need to find them and say, hey, what about her? Or what about him? What about this person, right? I think that's not what we should be doing. We should be starting from the foundation about who you would like them to be friends with. I think that should be the very beginning. Them as a person, right? You should work on their character from the beginning because, like I said, these clients that I have of mine, some are very, very wealthy. They don't want to change, and they can't change because it's been like 30, 40 years. They have been in this molded, character, establishment of themselves, right? Their body and mind is wired a certain way. So from a business English point, I can change them. I can help them. I can boost their career. But for a character, a personality standpoint, it is molded. Now, you can catch them, your children, younger and say, hey, okay, like this is the type of person, maybe you could be friends with, or this is the type of person you should hang out with. But telling your child this is the one that could be your wife or husband, they will immediately be like, hey, like just back up. Mom, dad, back up. Because I'm not really trying to get into someone you're trying to put into my life. Maybe they don't even want to be dating right now. So it says, is it your right to be a matchmaker for your child? That is a question number 2. Remember, we're talking about the movie called, let me remind you, it's called Man in Love. Just type it in Netflix. Boom. There you go. Man in Love. So on lights, camera, whatever, we're going to jump into whatever we want to talk about. Third question. It says here, sweet and sour. Why I say sweet and sour, right? Because we all have multiple sides inside of us. All of us. We're all sweet. We're all sour. We are all, I don't care. You could be like, nah, I'm good. I'm straight and perfect. No. If you're watching this video, you are not perfect. And I am totally not perfect. We all have a sweet side. We all have a sour side. The question is the person that you're dealing with or possibly wanting to date or be a partner with or already in a relationship, if it's not set up by some other arrangement, are they willing to accept you for who you are? That's another key question, right? Because all of us are sweet and sour, right? Now, why I put sweet and sour? Because, of course, it's very clear, very precise. We all have different taste, right? We all are different people in certain aspects. So even if you might see the bad in someone, they actually might have a lot of good things about them. And vice versa. They might have a lot of good things, but also a lot of bad things, right? So the thing is that don't judge people from what you see in the beginning. You should find out about the person. You should dig a little bit because first of all, first impressions are very, very important. But you could have missed the most amazing person in the world just because you were overjudging, because of your bias, right? Because of your prejudice. You don't want to do that. You want to find out who the person is. Right? We are all sweet and sour. Do not forget that. Do not forget that. We are also, the thing that I don't like is like people judge other people and want them to be perfect, but the person judging themselves, the person that's doing the judging, they're not even close to perfect. And I think what we do is that we use people who are not perfect to cover our imperfections. And then when we just say, hey, why you don't do this? Why don't you mind your business, right? Why don't you just be you and I be me? And if I'm doing something that's literally putting me on the verge of death on a daily basis, yeah, sure. Great. If my friend is smoking cigarettes, I don't care how annoying. I'm going to say, hey, bro, like you got to slow. I don't care how annoying I am because it's literally killing him. Of course, every day, in the end of our life, not every day, but in the end of our life, we're going to meet, the end. Right. But at the same time, you could slow down the process. But some people have this, habituation to, puff a cigarette. I understand, but I will still remind my friend. But for your partner, right, it's different when you're in a love relationship. Like sometimes you knew that person was smoking before you dated them, but you still went with them. You knew this person eats McDonald's every single day. And about these lifestyle cancers, right? It's basically we're eating and we're not doing exercising and we're not sweating and we're not releasing stress. We're holding it in, right? We're on the phones all day. We're on the screens and we're becoming imperfect people. That's who we are. But we all do have the capacity to change. I totally believe that. But you got to look at someone from the sweet and sour angle. That's why it's called sweet and sour. Next point says the ethics of your job. like I said, I don't want to spoil too much of the movie, but in the movie, like I said, it's a debt collector. I think there is no positive word for debt collector if it's not bank. So this probably means a gangster, right? Would you do a job that was unethical? We're not going to dive too much into this. This is just something I want to put out there. Would you do a job that is unethical? Would you? Like, yes, it's making you money. Yes, it's kind of like unorthodox and crazy, but it's making you money, right? Would you still do it? I would have to say there would have to be a major, deep, profound consideration, right? Because for me, I would need to do something ethical. Otherwise, I really would not sleep at night. So that's a little bit from the movie, right? Could you do a job that was unethical? So that one is called The Ethics of Your Job. Now, the second one is a little bit beefy, a little bit juicy. It is something from the movie. It says, could you date or fall in love with a prostitute? There's no doubt for me. Impossible. No, never. I would never. And if you could, do your thing. Do your thing. But for me personally, no possible way. No possible way. I would, first of all, no. Guys, get your kids, your son and your daughter, the one key weapon that they can have to survive in the future. It is a communication skills. If you can communicate and get, say what you need to say, I don't think you would ever have to even be in that situation, right? To think about dating a prostitute, right? Because you've communicated everything you wanted clearly. You know what you want. You've communicated yourself to find the right person, and you don't need to deal with that, right? So from the movie, I was like, oh, I don't think I could ever do that. To date, not only date, but to fall in love. They are who they are. I don't blame them for being themselves, but you falling in love with them, that's your fault. They could be what you're looking for. I totally understand. Sometimes in relationships, we get to our partner and there's absolutely no conversation. I totally understand. That point. There's literally no conversation. Seriously, I totally get that. But you know who they are. Right. And how they could just be an amazing service. Right. And you just keep bringing the money. Right. So I think for me to even have that possibility, I would not. I don't want to do that. I think that's not for me. So that would be a big, huge NO for me. Now, the other part of the movie says, will you have guests? Yeah, you're probably thinking, yeah, I have guests in my house. So no. When it's the end at your funeral, will you have guests coming to see you and to say goodbye? Think about your life right now, guys. Think about it, please. I'm not saying go out there and make 1 million friends, right? But you got to have at least 2, 3 down to earth, down to do whatever, friends that you can talk to, that you can trust. I'm not saying that you have to go out there and find them, but you can work on being with, and finding friends and connecting with people. I'm not saying chase. Do not chase friendship. Friendship must be organic. Unless you grew up with some people in your neighborhood. You're just friends for life as kids. Not right now. But it says here, will you have guests? And you got to think about what you're doing right now in your life that would bring people to the last day you're here. Not even the last day, the funeral, right? Because if there is no one at your funeral, something is wrong. That means you have lived an entire life and connected with no one. You haven't influenced or motivated anyone. You have been of no use, of no, nothing great to anyone, right? I want you to think about that right now as you're living and breathing, and you should be grateful. Will you have guests, right? And this is connected to the movie. If there is literally no one coming to say goodbye to you, and think about that, what in your life do you need to do right now to make sure that doesn't happen when the time comes? Think about that. Will you have guests in the end? Not right now at the house, not anywhere, to your company. I'm talking about in the end, people who have appreciated your contribution to this earth, to the company, to the community, or from a friendship perspective. Will you have guests? And that should make you right now wake up and say, okay, what can I do to make my contribution? Yeah, you probably say, I don't need to make a contribution. It's not my business. I totally know what some people are saying right now. But just think about in the end, when your picture's up on that wall in an empty room, that means you have gone through this life, this gift that you have been given, and nobody wants to say goodbye. Think about that. Now, The other one, this is interesting, right? Okay, we're gonna try to wrap it up. This is it says, do you need to clean your windows? Yeah, I asked the question. Do you need to clean your windows? Because sometimes we do need to clean our windows and see the good in people. We need to see the good in people because our windows could be blurry. We could be seeing something that we shouldn't be seeing, or we could be seeing something that we want to see. So, do you need to clean your windows, right? Because the bias and the judging is disconnecting us from great potential relationships that could be great. But because of the judging, because of the bias, they don't happen. They just don't happen. So, do you need to clean your windows? And when you clean your windows, it's not just the actual window, which is your eyes and how you see, but like, do you need to clean the windows and mentally and spiritually, right? And how you see people, right? That's a very, very key point. Do you need to clean your windows so that when you're seeing people, you're seeing them for who they are, you're not judging them, and you're giving people an opportunity, right? Do you need to clean your window? Now, the last one is loving the other's dreams. Guys, your partner will have a dream. They will have a dream. But do you love their dream? You don't have to love their dream, but if you are a real partner, you will at least talk to them about it. You will at least discuss it with them, right? Not just say, oh, don't do that. It's a waste of your time. Guys, we have to start supporting each other and not shutting down other people's ideas and dreams. So the last one for this episode is love the other's dream. If someone comes, because there's a lot of dream killers out there, a lot, right? As soon as you say something, no. Give your partner a chance to at least express everybody has the right to have dreams. Everybody has the right to have dreams, right? But if you're not willing to be there on the dream that they want to have, are you a real partner? Now, it depends on how realistic it is, but are you a real partner? If you don't support their dream, or you don't even have the willingness to hear their dream, that's even worse, right? So that is the man in love. We're going to go into 2 parts, so make sure you check out the next video. So this is the part 1 for the man in love, right? So make sure you check out part 2 because I got more questions coming for you. So Man in Love, Netflix, check it out. And thank you for watching. Lights, camera, whatever.